Hello, and welcome back to File New, the weekly show covering creator, artist, and tech news. I'm Ryan Selvy, and today is Friday, March 1st. Hope you had a happy leap year day. Today on the show, art theft! There's a big story about art theft going on, and it's not what you're going to expect. We've got Adobe's cool new music generating and editing tool. Tumblr and WordPress are selling your data, and generating music from an image. How does that work? But we've got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and just hop right on in. So this is the section of the show where we go over some of the greatest headlines in art news. Starting off, we have one with the largest museum in the world. It is the Louvre in Paris, and it is hiking its prices before Paris hosts the Summer Olympics. The Louvre is, like I said, the most visited museum in the entire world. It has something like 9 million visitors last year, and it is understood to take multiple days to explore. So you know that it probably houses legendary works like the Mona Lisa and the Raft of Medusa and the Coronation of Napoleon. And this reporting comes from Joe Lawson Tancred at ArtNet. Louvre has refused to publicly comment on its reasons for the hike, but Alternatives Economics has estimated that the price hike on top of the Olympics will bring in an extra $47.8 million, and that is converted for US dollars. That's not the pounds. They have some sort of amount of pounds, but this is for $47.8 million in the pounds. in US dollars. And then also in related, but kind of unrelated news, I found this out while I was going through this, that apparently the medals that are going to be offered to the Olympians in the Olympics will also contain a little bit of the Eiffel Tower. So I don't know where they're pulling that medal from or if they'll just like replace it, but that's like some fun piece of trivia to know that maybe they'll bring up at some trivia night forever from now. Next up, back to some more art news, is what I was talking about with art theft. And have you ever really been worried about someone taking your work and not giving you credit, or selling it and not giving you money? How about your middle school art teacher? This is a crazy story coming out of Canada. A middle school Canadian teacher was caught selling his students' artwork online. The Canadian teacher, named Mario Perron, faces a potential lawsuit from parents who say he printed their kids' drawings on coffee mugs and tote bags. There's even some screenshots of it where you can see. This reporting comes from Elaine Veal at Hyperlinks. And the teacher allegedly gave the students the homework assignment, creepy portraits in the style of Basquiat. And then later, students were searching their own names online and found the now offline store with their work on tote bags. You can see in this screenshot that I grabbed from Hyperlinks that the actual tote bags have the names of the students underneath the actual tote bags. It is unclear whether or not any products sold. But as I was telling this to Allie, we were like, honestly, a little bit of respect for a side hustle because it's hard to make money as a teacher. No, obviously not. Don't steal your kids' work and sell it online without their permission. Nobody asked for that. Wild story. It was shocked I had not seen that about anywhere else. Allison is in the YouTube chat saying it's called girl bossing, and Kendall is in Behance chat saying I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I am. So yeah, watch out. You might also want to search your own names. Who knows? And then next up, we have some creator news, and it's some exciting news coming from Adobe, who sponsors this show. This is on Adobe Live. And they announced a prototype called Music GenAI Control on Wednesday. And the new lab project allows users to generate music, which we've kind of heard before, using text prompts, but it also allows them to edit their outputs with like loops and beats and cadence. So I am not going to do the best job speaking to this because I have not worked on this project, but I saw a little bit about it. And Dominique Graves, who is a social content specialist for Adobe, made a great video walking through it. And I just went ahead and I ripped that off of YouTube to just have that kind of be presented, and then we can see what that's about. So let me make sure I play the right video. I have my glasses on, but here it is. Check it out.
Don from Adobe here. I'm super excited to show you this new project from Adobe Research using generative AI to co-create music. Let's go check it out. What's up, Nick?
How you doing, Dom?
Pretty good. I heard you got a new project cooking up.
Yeah, I've been working on some music co-creation with Precise Control. I can take an input melody that sounds like this, and then you can generate the accompaniment, in this case, some film music.
That's cool. That's just from a prompt?
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to hear something else?
Yeah, let's do hip hop.
All right, one sec.
Okay.
Check out this other example where I can control the intensity up or down.
Oh yeah, no, that was intense.
Did you write any songs?
Yeah, I actually do make music.
What type of songs you write?
I like to write love songs.
Love songs? All right, I got some R&B music.
R&B music, okay.
With a little chorus verse intro type thing. Yeah, take a listen.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely hear the difference between the chorus and the beginning of the song. And it generated that by itself?
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What about loops? I need loops all the time for my videos.
We can generate loops just from a text prompt. Take a listen to this.
That's cool, man. So sometimes I have videos, but the music isn't long enough. Do you have a solution for that?
Yeah, check this out. I can take this classical piece of music and make it longer. All right, now here's the lengthened one.
That's cool. It created a whole different sequence for it. So what else can you do with this?
Oh, you can actually combine all these things together. So I can, for example, take the length extension and also fade it out.
And fade out. A lot of people think generative AI is only for images, but Adobe Research is breaking new grounds on audio too, making tools that are accessible for everyone.
All right. Thank you so much. So I thought it was really cool. I'm personally really excited about it from the idea of being able to create loops for things like this show where I need to have audio underneath, but I don't want it to be too distracting. I could also be something like just having ambience and having that kind of work. And then also even when I'm editing videos in my own, it'd be nice to be able to have that editing available to me. A big part of it, like I said, is the idea that it's not just like you throw it in there and then it is the music that you're going to get. The coolest thing is how Adobe is implementing this idea of back and forth and editing it with the things that you then get from it. One thing I will say is that this is just in the lab section right now. Don't expect this to be in Premiere or Audition or After Effects anytime soon. I also don't have any insider knowledge to let you know if it is going to, so don't take that with it. But you can check this out and other Adobe Labs projects at labs.adobe.com/projects. And on that, they actually have a bunch of different things that you can scroll through, and you can see all the different stuff in both video editing and some image editing and everything in between with Firefly and you name it. There's some really cool stuff. You can click around. I was amazed at how many things were going on, and I didn't even know that Adobe was trying those things out. Next on to some Instagram news. Instagram is developing a Snap Maps-like feature. So Snapchat, as you may know, has this feature where you go on and you can kind of like swipe away the menu, and it is a little icon of all your friends peeking around locations and last times they opened up Snapchat. Apparently, Instagram is honing in on that, and this reporting comes from Aisha Malik at TechCrunch. It's giving users the ability to see real-time locations of their friends. Users can choose who can see it, followers who follow you back, or just your close friends list, or you can even turn it off entirely. The feature will be opt-in, so don't worry, it's not an opt-out situation, it is an opt-in situation. And users can use the Instagram Notes function, which you might recognize from when you go into your messages. At the very top, there's little circles, and then people like put things. You'll be able to take those things and you'll be able to place them around maps to maybe highlight a really cool coffee shop, or maybe say that, you know, you want to meet up in the park for some kickball. I'm really bad at kickball though, so I can't join you. Users will have to experiment and see how this is going to interact with the idea of Instagram as a media platform for pictures and videos. They're kind of always trying to figure out if they're messaging or not. And it's interesting to see them now take this direction of also Snapchat with maps, and if it's going to take on maybe Find Your Friends, which is also available to iOS users. And I don't know how I feel about it, but exciting nonetheless. Next up, we have some bad news, and this is for StreamYard lovers, and that is including myself. StreamYard is owned by Hopin, and they are also the owners of Streamable and Superwave. They entered liquidation as they moved from London to the US this week. This reporting comes from the reporters at sifted.eu. I use StreamYard all the time. It is really good for hosting other Adobe Live shows. I use OBS for this, but in the producing of Offset, I am normally using StreamYard because it's really great to bring in guests onto the live stream with a URL without leaving your browser, and it makes it easy for guests to kind of understand what's going on. They can see what's happening and what's not. Back in March 2021, which is now 3 years ago, Hopin raised $400 million Series C at a $5.65 billion valuation, and that was making it the fastest growing startup ever in Europe. They say they will now be able to fully pay off all their debts with liquidation and the movement. They had some selling of some products, and they had some layoffs, but I am nervous because I absolutely love StreamYard, and it's a really great creator tool for anyone who live streams, whether that's to YouTube, Twitch, Behance, or they even have now a feature where you can use it to stream to Instagram. So you could have really cool ideas of having overlaid graphics that I love to do, but you could have them go directly onto Instagram in a vertical format. I don't know if they have TikTok yet or not. Something to check out, but it's just StreamYard, and it is free for some of the main features that you can get away with having for free, and then they add some cooler things to it as you have different paid tiers, but by and large it is a free service, and it is very useful. Gotta love my StreamYard. Love them. Next up, we have some Blue Sky updates. Blue Sky, the Twitter alternative, added hashtag functionality yesterday, which I'm very excited about. And the cool thing about their hashtag functionality is that it doesn't just click and bring you to users site-wide that are using the hashtag. The one thing about it is you can click it and then decide after you click it whether or not you want to do site-wide functionality. Or alternatively, you can also click it and say, show me all the hashtags that is prompted by this user. So if I am on, like, I don't know, Oliver's Blue Sky page, I can go and I can click every time he mentions hashtag painting. And then you can go in and you can see all the times that Oliver alone has posted about hashtag paintings. There was also some other news, which was really exciting because they are just pushing out updates. They also introduced the idea of muting keywords, and this can happen in both hashtags, post text, or even the alt text for images. And alt text images are automatically created for people who don't put them in. So it is a really good way of having accessibility, and maybe you don't want to see pictures of penguins, or you don't want to hear people talk about penguins. And so you can tailor your experience in addition to the idea of having your own custom algorithms, which we talked about a few weeks ago. But this is another way of having kind of content moderation off of something that is an open protocol, which makes kind of mediating content a little bit harder, and it puts it into the hands of the users as well to be able to take some awesome steps on their own website. And then finally, the Blue Sky updates that I want to highlight is Aaron Rodericks was appointed to the head of the trust and safety team, speaking of safety and moderation. And he was previously the head of the trust and safety team of Twitter until his untimely dismissal for liking a post criticizing Elon, which made news a few months ago. So it's exciting to see him now on Blue Sky, which I am clearly rooting for and I like using. In other social media news, TikTok still removing songs as there is no deal with Universal Music Group. If you guys remember from a few weeks ago, Universal Music Group pulled their licensing from the app after they were unable to make a deal with TikTok. And now it's actually growing and expanding outside of people who are just signed to Universal. This is reporting coming from Emma Roth at The Verge. And The Verge says TikTok is now taking down all the songs written or co-written by artists signed to Universal Music Group. In a statement on its website, TikTok said, "We are in the process of carrying out Universal Music Group's requirement to remove all songs that have been written or co-written by a songwriter signed to Universal Music Publishing Group, based on information they have provided. Their actions not only affect the songwriters and artists that they represent, but now also impact many artists and songwriters not signed to Universal. This will also impact artists who aren't signed to UMG but have publishing deals with the label, including Harry Styles, Steve Lacy, and SZA, according to a report from Rolling Stone," which is really interesting because it puts TikTok in a very troublesome situation. They have deals with plenty of other music groups, but it is interesting to see that, one, they didn't just back out of it, and two, that it's starting to expand into other forms. If you go onto TikTok and there was a previous TikTok that had music from Universal Music Group on it, it is now just muted. And you can even go in and switch your music to other music. But as it stands, there's more and more music that is just being ripped off of TikToks. So interesting to see where that lands. Not sure where it goes. YouTube actually has a new remixing tool that allows people to specifically use music from Universal Music Group. So obviously Google and Universal Music Group has some sort of arrangement and agreement. And as YouTube Reels picks up, or was it YouTube Shorts picks up, it's a clear competitor to TikTok. And then some more Adobe news. Enhanced Speech officially launched into the public build of Adobe Premiere. It was previously available in beta, and it uses AI to restore audio to make it sound like it was recorded in a studio. And I also have another video for that, so let's check that out.
The new Enhanced Speech tool uses AI to magically remove noise, making it sound as if your dialogue was recorded in a professional studio. Just click Enhance.
Hi, I'm Keenan Matthews, and I'm a track coach.
And adjust the mix amount.
Hi, I'm Keenan Matthews, and I'm a track coach.
By the Chelmsford JCs and the Courthouse Racquetball Club. By the Chelmsford JCs and the Courthouse Racquetball Club.
Check out the latest version of Premiere Pro and try Enhanced Speech today. You won't believe your ears.
I'm very excited about it, honestly. It's something that I have been using in the beta, and I've actually had to hop into the beta when I've been editing things to then hop back into the regular build. Or even before that, I was also going onto the website and I was switching out the they had it just as a tool that you would like upload audio and then bring it back down. So it's really cool that it works directly with Premiere now. And when we are going to be watching a segment from Allie in just a few minutes, I actually used the feature within the public build on the video. So you guys will be able to see firsthand kind of how it sounds when I use it on different stuff. Before we get to Allie, we have a few more things. Number one is President Biden is banning the sale of sensitive U.S. data to countries of concern, basically China and Russia. And he signed an executive order on Wednesday, and Biden's move specifically targets commercial data brokers. According to a senior administration official, buying data through data brokers is currently legal in the United States, and that reflects a gap in our national security toolkit that we are working to fulfill with this program. And I just want to use this. I always say this, but your data is available online. There are different tools. We went over one a few weeks ago with Mozilla to get some of your stuff off of data brokers, but your data is online. And I'm not just talking maybe your email or whatever. Like your physical address is probably sold online down to the day. So if someone really, really cares, they can go on and they can buy your personal data. So it's important to use VPNs. It's important to stay on top of what services you're giving your information, what apps you're giving information, because a lot of apps, like they are free, but they just take your geolocation data or they take your browsing data. There was actually a report that I recently recently listened to that was talking about one of the big reasons that televisions are now so cheap. One is because there's a new method where you can make a giant screen and then kind of cut it up with the glass. But the other one is that they are like cars in the fact that cars and TVs are harvesting so much data about you, like including like, do you work from home? Like, what are you watching? How often do you watch? What hours are you watching? What content? Like all of that is being taken and made online and sold online. And so I think this executive order is trying to tackle that. It's a huge problem. I don't know how they're going to be able to pull it off, but it is something to just be aware of. Stay frosty. we'll see where it goes. Speaking of which, Tumblr and WordPress are preparing to sell user data to Midjourney and OpenAI. This reporting comes from Samantha Cole at 404 Media. The exact types of data from each platform are not known, but Automatic, they're the company that owns Tumblr and WordPress, also launched a setting on Wednesday that allows users to opt out of data sharing with third parties, including AI companies. So if you have stuff hosted on Tumblr or on WordPress and you want it off, make sure you log on in and you opt out. And then we have some Vision Pro news. It wouldn't be a File New episode if we didn't. The Vision Pro demand is higher than expected. This reporting comes from Ben Lovejoy at 9to5Mac. And data is coming in from analyst Ming-Chi Kuo at the one point the most reliable. Let me reword that. Data is coming in from analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, and at one point he was the most reliable Apple analyst around, according to 9to5Mac. U.S. shipments are expected to hit 200 to 250,000 units this year, and returns are reportedly down to only 1%. Apple's original estimate for the year was 150,000 to 200,000 units, so it is above that. It is still a smaller number because it is a niche market, but Apple has asked suppliers to increase production, which is a nice surprise, at least for me, because I'm excited about it. I really want to get one. We were talking about it on an Adobe call earlier this week. I want to do it because I want to try out the Firefly on it, but that's for another day. That's all the news that we have for today for this segment, but I do want to remind everyone that it is a podcast File New show on anywhere you listen to podcasts. That could be Spotify, that could be Apple iTunes, it could be Overcaster. If you just go on and you search for File New show, you'll recognize the purple, and if you subscribe to it, I normally get the video up about the day after because I have to edit it down, and I just basically take this and I uploaded it so you can listen to it or watch it if you are on the go or you have other things to do. And it's a great way to support the show. So make sure you give it a listen and give it 5 stars for me. And it helps the analytics and helps share it to other people. And then if you have any stories that you want to share or you want on the show or feedback that you have on the show, please, by all means, give us an email on filenewshow@gmail.com. Allie and I are always scouring the internet every week looking for the best news stories for you guys. But anything that you have to offer is greatly appreciated, and we also just love hearing what you guys like to hear about and talk what you guys like to talk about. But yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on into hyperlinks. This week we are honored to have Allie take over the hyperlink section, so without further ado, take it away, Allie.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, everyone, I'm still on the show. Olive Garden hasn't scheduled a follow-up interview for me yet, so I'll just take you through the hyperlinks. When's the last time you signed up for something and actually read the terms of service? If the answer is never, we are the same, and I'm pretty sure that I sold my soul to the Duolingo owl. Luckily, there's a website for us. Terms of Service Didn't Read, or TOS:(DR), a site that both summarizes and rates the terms of service for popular sites across the web. According to their website, TOS:(DR) began in June 2012 by the folks from The Unhosted, a movement to create web apps that give users control over their data and privacy. You can go to their website to search for popular sites like Reddit, YouTube, basically anything you can sign up for, apps, and then you can quickly get a sense of what that site's doing with your data. It just basically summarizes the terms of service for you. It's super helpful. It has a browser extension. It's supported by nonprofits and donations. So if you really like it, check it out. Give them a few bucks. Can I say that? Give them a few bucks. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's super helpful for people like me who are just never, ever, ever going to read through the terms of service to anything, no matter how important. Speaking of things that I don't understand, you may have heard some of these words a lot in the last year. Guardrails, hallucinations, machine learning. And if you're like me, you're pretending to know what these words mean at dinner parties and in bars. With the introduction of early AI tools has come a whole new vocabulary. AI Terms Explained is a website that can catch you up on these new words quickly. It's a glossary of the terms that we're seeing more and more as the machines take over. No, as more and more of these tools are becoming integrated into our work lives. I think it's really useful to browse because we're going to have to talk to our computer overlords if we want to live. No, because I don't know. I thought it was really cool to go through and browse the different terms, especially because there's a lot of really specific names for specific machine learning or AI programs that do kind of niche things. I think it's worth checking out for a few minutes. If you're really on a learning kick, check out Summarizing. It creates a transcript and then a summary and takeaways of a YouTube video. So you just plug in the link and voila, you get a neat little paragraph summary, key takeaways. I think this could be really useful for students or for people who want to watch our show over and over and over again on YouTube, just to make sure they took away all the big important points. So far, our hyperlinks have all been focused on learning, building your brain, getting a super strong brain. But maybe you just need to chill. If so, go to oneminutefocus.com, which asks the question, can you focus for 1 single minute? Let's try. I can't. Okay, but I think it's fun. You could use it as a bookmark. It's basically like a mini meditation. It has this small ball that grows and then shrinks. That's supposed to you sync it with your breath. And you're just supposed to focus for 1 minute if you can. Best of luck. If you can't focus for 1 minute, but you still want to relax, check out Switches. It's a website inspired by Dieter Rams's design principles. It's basically a really minimal, really pretty spread of different kinds of switches that you can just click around on and click on and off. It's just weirdly satisfying. It's kind of like a digital fidget spinner. And it gives you a sense of Dieter Rams's sense of style. Recommending this next site, I may be betraying my boyfriend, music genius, Billy Libby. Check out his music under the name Fort Gorgeous. But have you ever taken a selfie and wondered, what would this sound like musically? You can go to image2music.top to find out. This is a website where you literally upload an image, then you select one of 6 different tools that will read the image, quote unquote. They're basically machine learning tools, and then generate music that's inspired by the image. I made one of me, a half frame photo of me drinking a margarita next to my dog. It sounds like this. I also uploaded a still from The Sopranos, which sounds like this. They say it has 6 different use cases. 1, media and entertainment, to be used by musicians, filmmakers, etc., to generate royalty-free soundtracks and background music. 2, advertising and marketing, for audio branding, sonic logos, custom jingles. The idea is that you would upload a brand image or a visual logo to then get a sonic logo. Personalized GIFs, converting personal photos to a special music GIF. They also say it could be used as a therapeutic tool for visually impaired people to perceive visual imagery through generated music, for education, to teach topics like visual art interpretation, image processing, sound synthesis, and the category that I probably fall under, which is quote unquote casual creativity. Artists can experiment by rapidly converting their visual art into audio compositions and share online. Actually, I'm not even sure that's my category. My category would be clowns who just want to see what their weird selfies look like and what weird music comes up. It's interesting. Upload a couple images, upload yourself. The music is definitely not anything that I would maybe listen to more than once, but it is interesting to see that kind of process happen. All right. And just to end our hyperlinks section, I'll end with the end and everyone's favorite topic, death. When will it happen? What will it be like? Just kidding, but kind of not. The website Today with Motivation, it claims to tell you how many weeks and days you have to live. You plug in your birthday and it gives you the number of weeks. I have, I think, around 2,500 weeks left, but that's based off the idea that I'll live to be 75. And joke's on you, my grandma's 96. So nice try. I probably have a lot more weeks, but I don't know. It's weird. It's supposed to motivate you into like spending your day more intentionally, but it kind of gives me anxiety and it makes me want to go back to the Focus for 1 Minute website and just breathe. It's kind of giving 525,600 minutes, you know? It's giving rent. I just don't know about it. And it's just like, we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know about it. Why did I recommend it in the hyperlink section? Okay, anyways, Ryan, back to you. Quick, back to you, Ryan.
I guess next week we should have Allie's grandmother on, just as a good feel-good story. Also, I can't wait to listen to all of those songs of Allie's face on repeat, because she said she's only going to listen to it once, but speak for yourself. All right. Thank you so much for covering the hyperlink section, Allie. It's always a pleasure to have you, and thank you for all your help. We're now going to hop into our next segment where we hear your thoughts. So let's hop into thoughts. So our first thought topic comes from the self-taught designer, Matij Latin, and he has a newsletter covering a lot of design, and he posted a great snippet this week entitled, "How My Dream Design Job Turned Into a Nightmare." And he has a lot of really good advice. He has a lot of hot takes on the idea of what it means to be burned out, to be taken advantage of, to invest yourself into work only some portions and not other portions. But I thought it would be a good idea to hop in here and just kind of call out a few of the things that really stood out to me. One of the things he said at the very beginning was he made the mistake of going 100% when he entered his new job. That was his dream job for 3 years, and then it turned really bad and he ended up getting fired. But he says, don't take your job as a competition of who's a better designer on the team, but as a privilege to design things for people to use. So kind of remembering that you are in there for a reason, and that it's not to make a name for yourself, and it's not necessarily to prove yourself. Too many people are trying to always prove themselves. It's kind of like, remember what at the end of the day everything is focused on. He says that there needs to be clear signs of growth in your performance to advance in your career. Starting high and maintaining that won't get you noticed. So he's not saying slack off when you enter, but he's saying you don't want to go at, a 12 out of 10 when you start, because then you can't grow. Like, just honestly give it what you can give it, and then you will naturally grow over time, which I thought was really good advice. He said that it's much harder to notice the signs of burnout in yourself than it is in others, including your manager or colleagues. He says quitting takes a lot more guts than continuing to be carried along like debris on an ocean wave. And that's a quote that he mentions from a book of The Dip. And he argues that people get caught up in the sunk cost fallacy. Having invested so much time into something, we hate to leave it. And that's why we kind of stick around in jobs for so long. He says that designers need to recognize that a job is a dead end when you can notice a few different things. Number one, he says, if you've been a designer at a company for 2 years, been doing great work, but received little recognition, and your manager isn't talking to you about your potential promotion, is a dead-end job. Number two, he says, if the design team is small and no designers are being promoted, it's a dead-end job. 3, if you are all asked to do is a transactional and reactive work with little research, discovery, and UX strategy, it's a dead-end job. And number 4, he says, if you're stuck with an incompetent manager who continuously gaslights you, it's a dead-end job. And he talks a lot about gaslighting also in this, and he talks about the different types of managers, ones that look out for their team, ones that look out for themselves, one that are loyal to the company, ones that ignorantly are like looking out for their team, but they're also looking out for themselves, and the different kind of ways to interact with different managers, and the idea of making sure that you're not being gaslit. All very interesting read. It's about a 12-minute read. Like I said, it's just on his site, and I was inspired by it, and it's also kind of self-reflective in the idea to remember that there are a lot of ways to approach a job. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and I feel bad that he felt burnt out for a while, but he seems like he's like, all in all, I learned and I grew from it, so it's something to check out. And then the other thing that we have is actually a article that I found pretty depressing. It turns out that kids are now getting bullied whether or not they are buying the skins online for these free-to-play games. So like Fortnite, you play it for free, but then there's microtransactions where you can go and you are kind of in a different suit, or you look like Ariana Grande, or like you're from Dragon Ball Z. And apparently a study is done, and this is coming from Kotaku, and they were saying that apparently there is new evidence to prove that the kids are being bullied for not spending money in free-to-play games. And the reason why I wanted to include this in our thoughts section is that this is just another piece of evidence that our worlds are becoming entirely more digital, and the idea that the things that we create as creators are not just fancy looking things that people separate from their personal lives. Like, it used to be that, like, you're like, oh, it'd be really cool to design like a billboard or a magazine cover, but like, whatever, I'm just doing social media content for this random company. But it turns out that all the stuff that we're creating digitally is still having a very strong impact on people that are interacting with it in a digital world, especially Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's interesting to see that in something where everything is free and everyone can just play, and the idea is to play the game, not necessarily to buy stuff, that this kind of new interaction is happening where there is class and poverty also in the idea of a free game. So interested to see how that goes. Bruce says, bullies! I myself am a bully, so don't play Fortnite with me. I will bully you. Interesting enough. Let's hop on into Font of the Week. The Font of the Week this week is available on Typekit, as it always is. And this week it is Stratos. It is designed by Yon Manet from Production Type, which has offices in both, I believe, Japan and Paris. They have a geometric grotesque font as this Stratos typeface that you can use. Penji.co characterizes grotesque typefaces from stark geometric lines and angular shapes. They are one of the oldest and most popular fonts used in the world, dating back to the 1800s. According to the publication Monotype, grotesque typefaces have varying contrast between thick and thin, often applied or exaggerated in weird places and unrelated to calligraphic contrast logic. The round shapes and curves are squarish. Terminals are often horizontal or curling in. The G often has a spur, and sometimes the R has a curved leg. Geometric typefaces are sans serifs constructed from simple geometric shapes. And then Stratos in particular is described on Adobe's Typekit as a geometric grotesque whose peculiar utility is derived from unusual ideas about proportion. It eschews conventional notions of typographic relationships, not just for novel effect, but to empower the user to do more interesting things in type. And then described on their official website, the first and most obvious of these surprises can be seen in the differences between its uppercase and lowercase letter forms. The caps are condensed, inspired by Gothic wood type of the 20th century, while the minuscules are akin to certain classic geometric sans serifs with circular rounds of their O, D, B, P, and Q, and horizontal terminals, which are their A, C, E, G, and S letter forms. And this contradiction presents intriguing possibilities. The family comes in 10 weights, and something that I also learned about grotesque fonts is the fact that they're called grotesque is because when they came out, it wasn't very normal to play with kind of sans serif typefaces. And the idea that people were so off-put by the idea of playing with these non-traditional approaches literally called it grotesque. And when you look up grotesque, that literally means unsightly and like gross and ugly. And they're now kind of just nomenclature is the idea of having grotesque is a type that you can have, and it's not necessarily ugly. I mean, look, this typeface is beautiful. It's just, it's different. It's loud. It feels very sports to me. It feels very like this would be like Nike or Converse or something. Maybe like, maybe some Jordans, but it's very loud and strong, and you could definitely put this in web design or in print design. It's not going to give you a hard time. There's plenty to see. It doesn't have too many thin things, and like I said, it has 10 weights, so if you need to have different applications of it, you have the flexibility to hop in between them. Clever says, I'm a grotesque heathen, which good on you. Let's hop on over to Ticketbooth. Normally, we are talking about New York stuff because I'm selfish, and I think it was Clever last week that said, hey, I can't go to any of these shows. So I made a point to make sure that we focused on some places elsewhere. Ticketbooth is when we talk about shows and events that are happening around the world and things that you can go to. The very first one is Art of Noise, and this is at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, and it goes from May 4th to August 8th. So it's coming up, hasn't happened yet. But beginning this May, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art is presenting 800 works that show the essential relationship between design and music. Pretty cool. The exhibit displays a range of audio objects from devices like Sony Walkmans and iPods to concert posters and album covers and 3 sound installations. Now, I still have my original iPod with my little circle, and I tend to keep them in a box. I haven't really touched them in a while. We do have a record player as well. But it's really interesting to see how the design of music has changed over the years in both the way that we consume it, the way that we store it, and the way that we represent it. I think that this is really cool to see. I probably will not be able to get to San Francisco in between May 4th and August 8th as far as my travel plans stand now. That said, if anyone in the chat does see it and would like to take a few pictures or anything, I would love if you would send them my way just so I could check them out and we can kind of experience it, and I can feel like I went to San Francisco. Speaking of the West Coast, we're still staying over there with Los Angeles, and Freeze LA is happening. It is in Santa Monica Airport, and it goes from February 29th, which was yesterday, Leap Day, all the way to March 3rd. So if you've not have plans this weekend, now you're going to go to the airport. It has nearly 100 exhibitors on display. ArtNet identified Trey Abdella, Carla Edwards, Terry Allen, Maria Klaben, and Julia Yerger as artists to watch for. And it's just a massive show. They also are going to have one over in the Shed in New York, I believe in May. I will report on that as I get more information about it. But it's really cool to be reminded that art history is still happening and people are still making really cool art. And then the last one we have is we have 10 shows to see in Los Angeles this March. And this comes from Hyperallergic. They have some really cool stuff. If you want to hop on over to it, it's just on their website. And it talks about Dorian Wood. It talks about Raul Baltazar. It talks about Queer Tanks and Dorothy Hood, among others. So if you are in the LA area and you're looking for art to go to this March, now that it is March 1st, that is your one-stop shop. Hyperallergic will have you covered. We have got about a 10 minutes. Speaking Sims-ish, but we have about 10 minutes left, so let's hop on in to resources. Guys, I love James Barnard. I just do. He always teaches me new things while I am on Instagram or TikTok. And guess what? We're going to look at him because he has a really good segment about select shapes, which is new in Illustrator, and I want you guys to also experience it. So here you go.
Designers, if I want to select these white shapes in Adobe Illustrator, I can just draw a marquee around them and whoopsie daisy, my selection has caught the edges of these other shapes, and I now need to shift click each individual shape that I don't want to deselect them. But if you read the fine point in Illustrator's latest update, you'll have seen a new feature called Enclosed Mode. It's a tiny little update that they buried under a load of other features. It's pretty cool, because now when you make your selection, if you tap E on your keyboard while dragging, you'll get this little box. And now only the shapes that are completely inside the marquee will be selected. Huzzah! Also, be sure to take a look at the new features within shapes themselves, as you should now start seeing these on-shape widgets that let you control all sorts of crap, like the radius of a star or the number of points on a polygon.
Thank you, James. I messaged him. I like to message people with these to make sure that they're cool with me showing them on the show. But this is like the third time I think I've shown James's work. So I'm like, I don't want you to feel like I'm just farming your work, but your work is just so resourceful and I learned so much about it. And new things and new design tools, all from him. So if you don't follow him on Instagram or TikTok, make sure you check him out. Really nice guy and really talented as well. We've also have an interview with him on Offset where he and I sit down for about an hour and just talk through a bunch of stuff, which is really cool. All right, next up, I found some other cool stuff on Instagram. This one comes from food stylist photographer Diana. And I am excited to go ahead and show her work as someone who's constantly working with food and heavy lights that are kind of impacting the way that it photographs. And if you guys have ever tried to take pictures of food. You know how hard it is, and she has some tips and tricks. This one is particularly cool. It's all about ice.
This ice isn't real. It's fake. It doesn't melt. Hi, I'm Diana, and I'm a food stylist. I use fake ice for drink photography, like this, and I'm going to share with you how I make fake ice. I use Encapso K. It's really easy. Simply mix together the 2 bottles, part A and B, into a bowl or a bucket, and then pour it into a silicone loaf pan, or you can use ice cube trays. Let it sit for at least 16 hours, and then gently remove it from the mold. I like the loaf over the cube trays because I can cut or break it into any size or shape that I want. Now you can buy this pre-made, but it's really expensive, like almost $300 for a brick-size piece. You can also buy acrylic ice, but those cubes are super expensive, like over $75 a cube, and they don't float. They're stunning and they photograph beautifully, but if you can't invest in them, this is an excellent alternative for around $40. So you might also be asking, why not just use real ice? In most cases, real ice is too cloudy, and of course it's ice. It melts, which is not ideal for photography, where things can sometimes sit on a set for a really long time. This stuff's really fun. I like the fact that I can reuse it. I have bags of this that I keep in my styling kit. Eventually, it will absorb some of the colors of the drinks that you use, but overall this stuff lasts a really long time. And there you have it, an inexpensive, crystal clear, fake ice that floats. Follow me for more food styling tips and tricks.
Yeah, so that's from Diana Jeffra. Her company is Kalina Creative, and she's a food styling and recipe development service. Her Instagram handle is Life of a Food Stylist. Her Instagram shows the behind-the-scenes movie magic that goes into creating mouth-watering food content. She also features some recipes, and it's really cool to see how the magic is made. Rick is saying, is it edible? I don't believe it is. I also saw that Keys was saying while it was happening that this is used to make fake broken glass, which is disappointing to me because when I watched Rocket Power growing up, they used like sugar for broken glass that you could break through. But I would always be like, oh, I just want to like eat a window to see how it goes. Like also like I think he eats glass in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's all a tangent. Anyway. And then I have one more video for you guys, and this is an exciting one for you. Let's check it out, and then we will talk about it.
Are you ever scrolling on your feed and come across an image that makes you do a double take and ask yourself, is that real or is that not real? Maybe something looks off or the content is so unbelievable that it just can't be real, but you can't figure it out. This is exactly why I'm partnering with Adobe to share with you how content credentials is a new way to understand for certain what you're looking at. As a photographer, I'm passionate about transparency, so I always enable content credentials as a regular part of my workflow now. It's on by default. You can do this before editing in Photoshop or Lightroom, and when you do, a secure embedded layer of info is added on top to protect your art. For creators like me, it's a way to get credit and build trust with my audience on how I create my work. And for our audiences or consumers, it's essentially a nutrition label. It tells you an overview of how a piece of content was made and edited. And you decide what to share, whether that's your name, your social account, or your editing process. You can even take an image that you find online and upload it into Verify. And if it has content credentials, you can find the original creator's social platforms as well as specific info on how the art was created. Verify will tell you if AI was used and even which parts of the image are AI generated. So if we as artists start using content credentials as a regular part of our workflow, we can get proper attribution and build more trust with our audiences.
All right, and so that's content credentials. It's something that the team has been working on for a very long time. It's something that I hope to see more of, obviously, especially with AI and misinformation out there and plagiarism, including your middle school teacher. It's hard to keep a track of your content and your work and also other people's work when you're editing it to see if it's been manipulated already. That was taken from the Adobe Instagram, but you can also find all of her work as it was mentioned, and just really cool. Content credential program. And then the last thing we have for resources is this article that I found on. That's a spotlight. So let's just hop into spotlight. It is the DESA Circle, which is the 8 best digital art classes for aspiring artists and creative minds. This is a collection of really cool art classes that you can take. I found DESA Circle, I think through Blue Sky this week or Twitter, I can't remember. And this was a really cool article that I had kind of picked out from Michelle Moretti, and it has a bunch of different art classes that you can take. They have top picks from urban illustration, illustrated printmaking, design old school tattoos, And there is a bunch of different really cool things to take. And it's really cool that you can have this different interaction online, and you can learn to make really cool things. Just also in general, desertcircle.com is a website that I really would like to recommend because they have some really cool stuff. It reminds me a lot of It's Nice that you guys know that I am a very big fan of. And there is plenty to read and learn about. Go with the colors, find inspiration, and more. And I would love to know what you guys are using in your own experiences for your inspiration and what you're learning and where you're getting news from outside of, just this show. There is one thing in Rebrand that I want to go through, so let's hop into Rebrand and we can talk about Rebrand. Who loves free TV? I love free TV because TV is expensive and there's a bunch of streaming services. And Pluto TV is one of the ones that is just free TV. It also brings you back to the idea of the channel picker when you were younger and you had to go and see what was going on. They just did a rebrand and I'm not a fan. So you can see here on the top, you have Pluto TV, and then you have this like gradient off into the TV with circles and different colors. Now they're going for more of a monochromatic singular color using negative space, and it's giving me the old AOL logo, and it's also giving me like ABC or CBS, and it just kind of fades away into the idea of not being recognizable to any degree. I think that the update to the typefaces very minimal. And I don't really like how the O in Pluto is being cut off to kind of look like Plutk. I believe in execution this might be easier to be included, but it is just losing its flavor. And I hate when companies go through rebrands and lose their flavor and everything just kind of starts to look together, because as much as it's important to look nice, I find it even more important to make an impact and be recognizable and stand out from the crowd. And when there's rebrands like this, I think that it kind of goes too far and goes into a point where like it would have just been better as, as I said, maybe incorporate some of those colors that they had in the previous one in the new one. Like, I understand that having a cutout is probably more impactful, but I don't know. I just feel like it could be so much better. And that's all we have for Rebrand. Just a few minutes left. Let's actually hop into Spotlight now. And I want to talk about one really cool thing with variable type being used. Let's check. So for this one, we have from Creative Boom, and it's FC Variable. Rob and Robin creates customizable illustrations inspired by variable fonts. And the article goes through and it breaks it down really well as to kind of how everything is being modified and changed. But it's really cool when you go in, you can see that it takes a lot of inspiration from typefaces and the way that we have variable fonts now. If you're not familiar with variable fonts are the ones that go, and it's not just a regular typeface, a bold typeface, extra bold, black, thin hairline. It's instead you can literally go and hop on the in-between sections so that you can scale it from thinnest to thickest. And it's really helpful, especially for me, whenever I'm going and I'm creating like some sort of like animation, because you can keyframe the two of them. But this one in particular is cool because it's taking that and it is applying those variables to different illustrations. If you go to his website, which is Robin, which is ROBENROBIN.NL/FC variable. It has a good walkthrough of it again at the top, but then you can even go down and you can start playing with the different areas where it like reacts to your cursor, or you can change the position and it changes the variable width of the goalpost. You can go down and you can lift the goal. You can bring it up or down. It gets even shorter. And then you can even like have things be animated as they kind of go up and down and change the speed and automation from it. It is very fun. It's cool. It's, it's all an experiment. I don't know how necessarily it's going to impact your work, but I definitely thought it was worth spotlighting. And it is our one spotlight of this week. But that's about time for us for this week, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone that was in the chat, both on YouTube and on Behance. It was great to have you guys here. Thank you. As always, we will be back on Friday next week at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Western. And remember that you can get this and all the other episodes as podcasts on your best podcasting app of your choice. Just go ahead and search for File New. My name is Ryan Selvy. That's RyanSelvy. And you can find me on Instagram. Give me a follow. You can also find me on Blue Sky as ryanselvy.com. I'm going to work and get all of these links into the bio for you guys. That way you're able to hop into the hyperlinks that we checked out today and look at them yourself. But if you have any suggestions, if you have anything else, please let me know. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next week. It's a pleasure. And thank you again to Allie Rogers, who is our other producer on the show. She is the one that hosted Hyperlinks. So thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you all real soon next week. Bye.